Trovants Answered by Gary Ordog, MD. My previous video asking about these fossils, petroglyphs, or how they were made, what they are, apparently was answered by Mr. Attenborough. Sir David Attenborough, I should say, tweeted me this response, which I promptly replied to, and found out that these certainly look a lot like the Trovants of Romania, and these were present in my video in Canada. They look a little bit different, and I don't know, these may still have fossils inside as the start of the concretions, but they sure look similar. So I thank you, Mr. David Attenborough. You are a brilliant man, and again, thank you for answering my YouTube video. Here are some of these Romanian Trovants, or Trovants, depends where you're from, but they do form these huge round concretions made of minerals dissolved from sandstone, limestone, etc. Here I will show you my original video now, so you can refresh your memory on the subject. Fossils, erosions, or petroglyphs of Tillamook, British Columbia, Canada. You decide for yourself. What are these? Fossils, erosions, or petroglyphs? By Gary Ordog, MD. Treasures of Tillamook. Here's a barnacle encrusted one. This is actually a huge fossil, possibly. Fossil, freshly encrusted with barnacles. Here's another barnacle encrusted fossil. You decide what it is. Hard to tell with the barnacles on it, but this is a sandstone beach. It's full of fossils, erosions, and petroglyphs. Here's a fossil within a fossil impression. So you have the negative and the positive of the fossil. Embedded fossil in here, embedded in the sandstone rock. Is this a fossil, an erosion, or a petroglyph? Probably a fossil, as the fossil is still enclosed in the negative impression and embedded in the rock. Look at this one. It looks like a dimpled bowling ball or golf ball, but it's huge. Is this a dinosaur egg of a gigantic size? You decide. Here are more of these fossil looking things. Cannonballs, giant cannonballs embedded in the rock. Here, this one is dimpled as well, but also partly eroded. And they get all the way up to these huge ones, 10 feet across. Here's the impression, the negative impression of possibly a fossil. Here's an embedded Pac-Man fossil, I call it. It's got the mouth on it like a Pac-Man, but it's a sphere. And here's the eroded away half sphere with an impression. Negative fossil. Here's the positive and negative, possibly fossils. Here's more of those giant golf ball, bowling ball, huge, maybe dinosaur eggs. Who knows? They're perfectly spherical. Here's a bunch more of them. There's thousands of them on this beach, this sandstone beach on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. Many, many holes, thousands and thousands, maybe millions of holes, caverns, caves. This one you could put a mattress in and use it as a house or a bedroom. Here's a huge boulder that's full of caverns. Here's more boulders full of huge room-like caverns. Again, you could live inside of these. These could be bedrooms adjoining bedrooms for a whole family here. And these are huge. Look how big that is. I could live inside there. These are amazing things. Are these caused by humans? Are these caused by fossilization? Or are these just the effects of erosion into the sandstone? As most of these appear to be in sandstone, this is all sandstone rock around here. Look, here's a huge apartment inside. Is this erosion caused? I could live here. I may be moving into that exact condominium complex there. Look at thousands and thousands of holes formed by what? That one to me looks like a giant dog laying down with its head to the left, tail to the right. Holes all over the place. Thousands and thousands of holes, maybe millions of holes on this stretch of several 100-meter beach. And again, are these caused by fossil activity, by erosion, by human? Here's a hollow, round fossil, positive and negative impressions with a hole in the center. It's hollow. Here's another maybe fossil inside of a fossil impression inside the rock. Maybe this is a turtle shell. Look at the scalloped edges. Millions and millions of holes possibly in this area of Sandstone Beach. Here's another maybe fossil. It appears to be eroded halfway through, but it was spherical at one time. Is this dinosaur skin? All these holes here, even though these ones are very large, it would have to be a huge ancient creature. Look at it. Here's a fossil. It's got something in the center. It's got a ring around the edge and then a halo around that. And perfectly spherical. Look at this. Is this caused by erosion or is that dinosaur skin? Now here's a nice crinoids, an ancient plant-like object. Here's another one. It's got a hollow in the center with a ring around it and a bunch of small spherical shapes. Here's a scallop fossil, maybe a shell with a halo on it. And again, most of them are perfectly spherical, but somewhat eroded on the top where it's been exposed. And this is in the tidal plain. So this is exposed to the wind and water and the twice daily tides. Now look at this huge boulder. It's hollow inside. You could almost live inside that. Put your sleeping bag in there. Be a good shelter for sleeping in. There's another one, the size of a sleeping bag. Look at how nice and round this one is. It's smooth. Totally hollow, like a giant eggshell. Look at this, giant handprints. Are those the hand of ancient man? And look at this, 13 segments of a giant sea turtle. That's an impression that I had. Here's an imprint with a frilly edge on it. So what kind of creature is that? Possibly a fossil. And again, here, this is all dimpled. These are huge holes, thousands of holes and dimples. And look at this formation in the rocks, perfectly straight lines. And probably erosion caused. Here's the overall view of the area, and here again some of the other amazing structures in this area. These thousands of holes all over in the sandstone. Like what formed them? Erosion, creatures, shells digging in there, sea creatures at one time. Probably this was the bottom of the ocean at one time. Has been raised up. Here, the giant dog. Maybe a giant seal or a sea lion. Okay, look at this. Thousands and thousands of holes. Were these caused by air bubbles in the sand, sea creatures in the sand, all petrified over eons of time? Look at this thing. This looks like a dragon. I mean, it's amazing artwork here. formation. There's the head on the right, the body across the top, and then its wings and fins and legs hanging down. Here, look at this. This is probably erosion, I would guess. Many holes. This it's not symmetrical, so maybe not erosion. And look at it, another giant room. A family could live inside here. Everyone could put their beds or mattresses down and live inside here. The walls are nice and smooth. Here's an example of some of the layers in the sandstone. There's another giant room. Good shelter. Were the native indigenous people living in here? I don't know. Are these all petroglyphs? Or are these carved out to make homes out of the rock? Now look at this. To me, this looks like not a petroglyph, a fossil of some turtle or something. Here, look at this. Phyllodo. Many thousands of layers to make this up. Here's another, I think, fossil. Again, it's a cannonball, bigger than a cannonball. And here, this one's got dimples like a golf ball. Now, that's kind of unusual. Probably not man-made. It's been embedded in the rock for probably millions of years, or at least many thousands of years. And there's thousands of these, perfectly symmetrical, like amazing objects geometrically. Here's one again with a split in the center. So got this. Here's another one with a split in the center. So I call these the Pac-Man rocks because they look like Pac-Man. Now this, to me, looked like teeth, like a jaw, but maybe it's caused by erosion. And then it's got the barnacles obviously growing on where the sea has touched it. Okay, another huge, giant, larger than a golf ball, perfectly spherical, dimpled structure. Here, this looks like a fossil, maybe of a stingray. Here's a giant, spherical, dimpled rock. Again, it's huge, much larger than my foot. And there's collections of them, thousands of them in this area. So, are these giant dimpled dinosaur eggs? I mean, that could be, they'd be very large eggs for the ones I've seen in the past. And then you have these layers. This is amazing, all the hundreds and hundreds of layers like Phyllodo. Here's a coral-encrusted fossil in the tidewater. Again, many rooms all along the shore. Maybe carved out by erosion, maybe carved out by man, who knows, carved out by animals. Look at this one, looks like a skull. This is Skull Rock. Orbits and nasal bridge of a huge skull. See the nasal bridge in the center there? The nasal bones with the orbits on each side. Now here, this one to me looks like it's caused by erosion. You could imagine the waves lapping up and eroding on this as well. But something formed these many layers. Now here, look at all these holes. These are spherical holes, ancient acorn grinding holes, are they? And again, the giant crinoid, the prehistoric plant that used to grow. Here's another huge crinoid head with a stem embedded in the rocks. And then here, what's this? Like symmetrical type holes. Another huge crinoid head with a stem. So maybe that's what all these are, is ancient crinoids. Now here's a spherical, half spherical imprint, maybe an acorn grinding station. Here's a perfect concave impression, maybe an acorn grinding station. Perfect concave impression containing a fossil still. And the fossil has markings like a tortoise. Here's a hollow fossil with a hard shell on it, still present. Here's a segmented fossil, so it makes you think of a turtle or a tortoise. Here's an ancient fossilized impression with the fossil still present. Here's another one. Again, literally thousands of these. Here's one that's in the tidal plain, and so it's become encrusted with fresh barnacles. Here's a huge ancient impression that has been eroded, obviously, and just left the impression. I call this a keyhole notch. Is this a petroglyph, or what caused that? Here's another perfectly spherical, eroded, huge thing. I don't know. You figure out what it is. Here's another one that's also been eroded, so it's not spherical anymore, but the hole it is in is spherical. So is that how these were formed? By erosion? And here's another fossil. It's been eroded from the top, but you can still see the coloration of the maybe a fossil. Perfectly round impressions like this, where the actual fossil or rock or whatever it was that formed it is missing. Here the fossil is still inside. So probably not a petroglyph, but I'm not sure. You decide. So I'm leaving this up to you to decide what all these are. Look, here's a bowling ball in the center with a big, huge circle around it. Here, a giant sea turtle. This one's huge, the size of the largest sea turtle that I have seen. Now, what is this? Skin of petrified, monstrous sea creature. Look at this. Is this the skin, the negative impressions of the skin of a sea creature or a dinosaur? Petrified over many eons of time. Now, all along this shoreline are thousands and thousands of holes, maybe millions of holes, all different sizes. Here's a huge half-spherical fossil, I call it. And then you see stuff like this weird fossilized, I call it a moose skull. What is it? I'm thinking giant horseshoe crab here. It's a segmented shell of some form. There's a mama and a baby. So maybe stingrays, mama and baby became fossilized here. More of these unusual rock formations. Now you might think of this as a nest of dinosaur eggs. There's all these spherical structures fossilized into the rock. There's another. Is this a nest of dinosaur eggs? Are these dinosaur eggs? Perfectly spherical, embedded in the sandstone, unable to remove, but making a perfect impression over many eons of time. Look at this one, is absolutely huge. This is the largest one, well over 10 feet in diameter. Look at this sandstone beach. It's full of these spherical holes, perfectly half spherical. Are these ancient acorn grinding holes of the indigenous people? I don't know. You decide. A giant horseshoe crab, maybe. Well, look at this. This, to me, looks like a fossil. Now here's dinosaur skin imprints, possibly. I call this a huge sword sharpener, and it is several feet across, but could be used to sharpen knives and swords. And these big caves with pillows inside. You could live inside there. Here's a huge half bowling ball question mark fossil. This one, not so perfect. A little eroded maybe, so it's not perfectly spherical. Again, many layers forming this coastline. Here's another perfect half sphere. So what's formed these? Are these fossils? Are these erosion of rocks? Why would these form? Here, this one's a perfect sphere inside the hole of a perfect half sphere. Here's another huge spherical hole. So is this an acorn grinding station? Here's another one. Perfect spherical bowl. Was this used by the indigenous people for grinding their acorns and things? Now this is a huge one, hundreds of feet long. There it is from the profile, and looks like a giant blue whale carving. And look at this. Is this erosion, man-made, handmade, petroglyphs? I don't know. Huge Pac-Man fossil. Okay, all of this in 500 feet of sandstone beach. Millions of holes, millions of maybe fossils, millions of maybe petroglyphs. Anyway, a fascinating, fascinating area. Whatever they are, they're leaving fossil impressions. Here these are. These are all stuck in the sandstone. And then if you're up at 4 a.m., you can also experience this beautiful sunrise. So, you decide, and thank you for all your kind support over the years. And again, I am board certified here, forensic examiners. And thank you again for your support over the years. And I appreciate it if you can press for a free subscription. And yes, this is a summer 72. I worked for the parks. Over and out.